Today I'm going to talk about the Evil Dead trilogy. This is the last video of the week, and I thought I'd go out with some wonderfully deranged, campy, weird masterworks of horror and comedy, the Evil Dead trilogy. I'll cover roughly the TV show afterwards as well, but the main focus is the Evil Dead trilogy. Now, most people watching this would have seen the Evil Dead trilogy, and if you haven't, why haven't you seen it? Because they're wonderful. They're just wonderful works of derangement and strange humour, and it's one of those weird film series that it doesn't take itself so seriously, but there's some wonderful atmospherics in it. Even as it goes more campy, there's still some great little moments of atmosphere within it, and it really matches up well with the humour, because it's like it takes itself serious enough to get from one bit to the next, but also undercuts a lot of like a pomp of a typical horror movie. The main thing it uses is Bruce Campbell. I mean, this is a Bruce Campbell show for most of the time. Him and Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi covers everything with wonderful shots, and Bruce Campbell is his torture victim, his little puppet that he spikes with stuff throughout the film, throughout the 3 films. It's just a wonderful, crazy kind of collaboration. Now, these two were friends for years before this. Bruce Campbell was one of the producers of the film, so he's only himself to blame for the torture he went under. I mean, it's his own fault. He helped finance it, so he's partly to blame. And so so the basic setup is teenagers in the house, and demons get loose, and teenagers have to fight back, and they lose badly. That's the setup for the first 2 films. Then the 3rd film goes off to this weird action Harryhausen movie, which I'll get to. The first one is the one that's the most serious, but it's serious in inverted commas because it's not that serious. I mean, there's lots of crazy stuff in this film. It's just nuts, even for supposedly the most serious of the series. This one still has lots of weird humour. It starts off with this group of 4 people or 5 people who are going to this old house which is rented for the weekend, or have they just barged in? I can't quite remember. I think it changes film to film. Did they rent it, or did they just use it? I think the second one they just barged in to an empty cavern. The first one actually have rented it. It's hard to remember because it does change, because the backstory changes every film. It's almost like they're taking the mickey out of the idea of having a backstory. So they go to this cabin. There's a recording which one of them plays out of interest, which, because the recording says these words, it sets up, it lets loose all the demons that are lying low in the forest, that are now let loose to come at the 5 people in the cabin. And this means these people can be possessed to say silly lines or to attack the heroes. They can possess the heroes, they can do everything they want, and all they're really out for is to torture Bruce Campbell. And Bruce Campbell in the first one is a total wimp. He mans up in the other films, but in the first one he is a total wimp. He's like the one who screams like a woman. And there's women characters in the film who are attacking him most of the time, and he's like, ah! It's quite funny to watch him have the kind of stereotypical woman part. And he's like trying to survive a night of hell, and it's wonderful because his sister gets possessed first and ends up being kicked into the cellar. Then one of his I think his girlfriend gets possessed next, and then the other 2 get possessed slowly as well, and people get killed, and when he get killed he can come back as a possessed figure as well. So basically he has to kill all his friends, one after another. And during this time his girlfriend's torturing him, his sister's torturing him, they're saying, "We are going to get you," and all the rest of it. The camera's going crazy, and it's a hoot, it's a total hoot. But it remembers to be scary. I mean, when I first saw this in video in the late 80s, early 90s, and it was because I didn't know anything about it, it was scary. Because it was like, it just keeps on coming at you. It's got 90 minutes or 80 minutes. It keeps on coming at you in weird ways, and you don't know what's happening. And there's a couple of nasty moments like the tree rape that makes it feel more brutal, and it makes you feel your imagination of something's going to go bad here. Even though there's a lot of humour in there, it is a bit more malicious humour. It is darker, and it's no matter how much humour there is like a darkness to it that's not there in the sequels. But it's still funny as hell. I mean, there's great stuff. There's great moments of Bruce Campbell being stuck below this bookshelf falling on him. It's the most lightweight bookshelf ever, and he still can't get out of it. And there's these wonderfully weird moments, and then the film goes all out at the ending for crazy sequences where people are melting and vomiting weird stuff from themselves, and it's just nuts. It's wonderful. And even at the end, once Bruce Campbell thinks he's survived the night, thinks he's escaped, the camera just flies through the house and goes into his mouth and says that he's dead. It's wonderful. It doesn't care about killing characters off. He has to cut off the head of his girlfriend. It's just insane, and it's, again, I'm mixing this up the second one because there's they all kind of, even no matter, I've seen them recently, they all kind of just converge, one and two kind of converge into one film almost. I've seen these films a lot, so they still kind of converge into one film. So the first one's terrific, but the second one's better. The second one's really when it finds its footing, where it's like, it knows exactly what it is, which is a comedy with lots of gore. It's slapstick with gore. And the second one, we start off, you get a rehash. This time it's not a ton of friends, it's just Bruce Campbell and his girlfriend. He plays the thing, she gets possessed, he has to kill her, takes off her head, buries her. The thing comes up, seems to kill him, but turns out he's just possessed by it. And for a while he's possessed, and then he has to, then he's not possessed, and the whole house is trying to drive him mad. And his hand gets possessed, has to cut off his hand, and his hand's still coming to try and get him and stab him and stuff, and it's just wonderfully nuts. And the furniture's laughing at him, and all that weird shit that's going on. Then eventually they have to bring in other people to the thing, because they can't do that for 90 minutes. They have to bring in people who can kill off, which is basically these two researchers who are basically these two stiffs who are kind of useless. Then there's these two rednecks who, a guy and his girlfriend called Bobby Lynn or something, and he's this guy with the guy, he's the stupidest character ever in a movie, and his girlfriend's not much brighter, but she's a lot bit brighter than he is, because he's dumb. And the two stiffs who are like the educated people, they go to the cabin because they're trying to find her parents who have disappeared, who aren't answering. All hell breaks loose, people get possessed. Bruce Campbell comes back and forth from possessed and not possessed, and they're trying to find a way to stop the curse while they're trying to battle all these their own people and each other, and people get stabbed all over the place, and blood goes everywhere, people get flooded with blood. It's hilarious, it's really funny. At this point Bruce Campbell knows he's in a comedy and he's really camping it up, but there's wonderful shots throughout the film, and it's just wonderfully done. It's like so well done. It's like when people complain about something being still over substance, sometimes in some cases like Evil Dead 2, still is a substance. It's about what happens in an environment it's happening in. There doesn't need to be any deep themes, it's just about what's going on, and it's wonderful. That's enough. And the whole film is just insane. It's just a wonderfully weird film that for some reason people took seriously enough to ban it in certain places. The first one got banned too, and it's like, how can you take these films seriously? They're comedies. But they're comedies with gore in them, and people are covered with head to toe in blood, fake blood and stuff, and it's like, you people are nuts if you think this is serious. This isn't just slapstick. I mean, the end of it, you've got killer trees going towards the house and tearing apart the house. I mean, how can you take that seriously? So at the end of that film, Bruce Campbell's chucked is sitting back in time to the medieval ages, where he has to fight the Deadites on their terms. So we go back in the third film, Army of Darkness, because these films are shot like 5 years apart, so Bruce Campbell ages a lot bit every time. So he starts off as this lanky guy, and by the third one he's muscled out a bit. And he does look 10 years older, but that's part of the fun. And at this point he's morphed again. His character morphs between every film. In the first film he is this useful idiot. He's just the nice guy who's a bit thick. The second one, he's a bit more of a blowhard, he's a bit crazier, but he's going mad throughout the film, and he's this lunatic basically. In the third one, he is a total blowhard. This is the character of Ash that goes towards the series afterwards. But he's not really like that in the first two films, but they just push him towards Bruce Campbell's character a bit more, the way he played other characters, and this became more fun for them to actually play around this idea of who this guy is an idiot. He doesn't realise he's an idiot, he thinks he's actually smart. He does everything wrong, but he's good at killing the Deadites. So the third one, we go to medieval times, or medieval shot in California, where you can pass by the Batcave and from the 60s show and stuff like that. It does not look like England at all. It's like it's sort of like Hammer Every World type of thing, where Hammer used to have these films take place like in olden times of England, but it's never specific, and this thing's the same, it's never specific. It's meant to be King Arthur and the courts and stuff, and the Red Army and things, but it doesn't matter. The Deadites are attacking. Ash has to go to the cursed lands and find the Book of the Dead, get it, say certain words and get back. So he has to go on this quest for these people. He goes through all this stuff, he ends up fighting against, he goes into this windmill and ends up fighting against a small version of himself. He ends up fighting against an evil version of himself. Again, it's really funny, really dark humour. This is the first film of this series I saw in the cinema. And it looks amazing in the cinema because it's so arch and weird and deranged. And again, I don't know how people take it seriously. Like, it's kind of a really Harryhausen film with stop motion, but it's done as a comedy. It's just wonderful. It's a wonderful film. So he has to get the book. He messes up the words when he picks up the book. The Army of the Dead rise to attack everybody who's living, and he has to lead the army against the Army of the Dead. The Army of the Dead led by an evil version of himself who's fallen a bit slowly but surely. So he's fighting himself and he's fighting his own stupidity. And at this point, most of the characters have realised he's a moron. so they're following a guy they know is stupid, fighting against an Army of Darkness. This is a hilarious film. This is the underrated one. Like, the first two films were well received by the people who understood horror. I mean, the outside world didn't get them, but the kind of hipper critics got the first two films. They understood they were really good. They were cut above horror, natural, general horror. These were the funny films. These were made by the guy who knew what he was doing. By the time they got to the third one, Sam Raimi had made some other films as well, like Darkman had been done well. So he had a bit bigger a budget. And when Army of Darkness came out, it was not received as well as it could have been, because I think people still expected more horror, and this was minimal horror, much more fantasy, and a lot more humour. Even though the second one had lots of humour, there was still tons of gore. In this one, there was less gore and more freaky skeletons getting chopped to bits and stuff, and it wasn't quite as gory as expected, but you couldn't really do that if you were on a bigger budget film with an army of skeletons. So it changed its tone to suit what it was trying to do. And each of these films are different. They actually do change. So each one has a different tone to it. The first one is a low budget horror movie with humour. The second one's a comedy, slapstick comedy with tons of gore. Third one's a fantasy. But they're all great, they're all wonderful. I watched them all recently, pretty much together. And they're paced really well, they're really enjoyable. But they do feel like very different films with the same actor, the same director, but they've changed it around so they don't get bored. They're trying to avoid being bored in each film, so each film's different. But they're all wonderful, they're all worth seeing, and you're going to have a good time. Years later they followed up with a TV show, Ash vs Evil Dead, which is a terrific show. Again, they stuck to the gore, they stuck to the the stories of you know, the first few films. Ash is trying to live a life after he's managed to come back from the past, and he's trying to make a life for himself, but he's living in a trailer. He's working a terrible job. He hasn't advanced much in life. He's only got one hand because he cut it off in the second movie. And at a certain point he makes a mistake and the Deadites suddenly arise again, and he has to fight them throughout modern America. So the first series is them travelling through modern America. The second series he goes back home. Second season he goes back home to his hometown and has to fight them in his hometown and face up to him being viewed as a serial killer because of all those dead bodies in the cabin. And then the third series he's been claimed as a hero, and now he has to live up to that. So each season has a different arc. First one, you're getting to know Ash and his problems since the films, and he's been a bit of a loser. Second season, he's having to face up to his family. In the third season, he's having to face up to a hero structure, a reputation as a hero. So each one's slightly different, but in each one, Ash is a moron. In the third one, he's not just a hero, he thinks he's a father, and his daughter is appalled by his behaviour. Lucy Lawless appears in all 3 seasons as well as his nemesis, who switches sides a couple of times. He's got a couple of sidekicks who are all funny. One's a Mexican guy who has all this weird stuff slowly written in his body from the Book of the Dead, and he's in touch with this supernatural, and he's a bit worried he's going to be possessed. And there's a girl who's smart aleck and who has no time for Ash's bullshit. So it's a nice character dynamic. It's very different because before it was always just Ash playing off different characters who were all stooges to him. Always playing off actors who were very inexperienced and who didn't really have much, so it was always the camera angles moving around and stuff. And part of the fun was that some of the acting was a bit dodgy and Bruce Campbell was carrying it and the camera work was carrying it. Now he's with actors who actually can bounce back to him but know them in a cheesy TV show. So that works beautifully. I mean, it really works, and it's a wonderful combination of characters throughout. So they know how to expand it. There's also tons of gore, and they do kill people off with regularity. So if you like a character, there's a good chance they're going to get killed off. There's only a few characters who survive each season on to the next one, because there is a high body count in this because no one gets out alive. And it does a great ending that keeps this possibilities going, even though Bruce Campbell says that's it, done. But it lets it off at a point where it's the way the Evil Dead stories always end is there's always a possibility of something more. Like Ash hasn't fully defeated the evil, which is always a nice thing. Like he's an eternally damned character, and the TV show understands that. Like even if there's no Deadites, he can get in his own way. So the Evil Dead's a terrific series. I'd highly recommend it. Try and watch it. Like, watch the films then watch the series, because if you like the films, you'll like the series. The series is an extension of the films, and have the same sense of humour. Sam Raimi produced the TV show as well. He directed 1 or 2 episodes, but he's mainly the producer. And you can tell because they get people in who understand that style. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back next week with some other videos. I'll see you then. And comment if you want at the bottom. I keep on forgetting to say that, but comment if you want. Right, bye for now.